Hey guys, this is Pastor Caleb over here at Calvary Chapel Fullerton. I hope you're having a great day. I'm standing here in front of Cal State Fullerton where we are praying and looking forward for God to open up these doors for the future, the next chapter that He's got here at CSUF. We don't know yet. We're praying every week. We're discussing so we can all continue to be praying and asking the Lord for His perfect timing for the doors that He wants to open up. Now, why are we talking about that? Because this week we were looking at the church in Philadelphia. And as we're going through our letters to the 7 churches, this was one of the ones that we all want to be like. And this was the faithful church, the enduring church. And as we talked about being people of endurance, people that handle closed doors well, you know, we looked at some keys to how we can suffer well, or the key to suffering, the key to dealing with the closed doors in our lives. And the 3 things that we were looking at is the one that has the key, the door, and the idea of the pillar. So this week's questions kind of come from this whole idea, this whole understanding of how we're learning to deal with open and closed doors in our lives. And so the first thing that we're talking about is we looked at the idea of Jesus being the one with the keys. And we've all, had to deal with this picture of authority in our lives. And if we're going to learn to have, this understanding of Jesus being the one with the keys, it's helpful for us to look at how we've dealt, with other seasons of authority. And we're kind of asking in this first question of how have you ever struggled, with seasons of authority in your life? Man, I can tell you, growing up as a teenager, my parents had their hands full, and so did my teachers. And so I know what it's like to wrestle, with authority and not wanting to be under authority. But what about you? What has maybe been some times where you've wrestled, challenged with authority? Maybe it's relationships, jobs, school, family, in any one of these kinds of things. Another thing that we wanted to talk about is how God uses the closed doors in our lives sometimes, jobs, relationship, finances, then to become an open door, a way that He can utilize that for the sake of the gospel or the kingdom. And so maybe we can talk a little bit about how God has used some of these closed doors in our life to open up others that have become effective for ministry. Kind of like that 2 Corinthians 1, 3, and 4. God comforting others with the comfort that we have received, the way that God ministered to us, in those moments. Another one that we want to talk about is how this quarantine season has kind of revealed to us maybe some areas where it is challenging to deal with some closed doors, some no's. I remember as a parent, baby-proofing the house and having certain, cupboards and things like that were locked, and my kids are pulling on them and yanking on them. And, this quarantine has, made us feel like that a little bit with our jobs, with our things in terms of places that we'd like to go and things we want to do. And so it's helpful to talk about where it feels like we're wrestling, with some of those closed doors in our lives and what that maybe looks like in this quarantine season. One of the things that tends to happen with closed doors in our lives is they can leave a scar. And sometimes there's still areas that we're struggling. Why, Lord, did this door close? Why didn't this thing happen, the way that I wanted it to happen? And so it's helpful to stop and look and say, is there a resentment? Is there a wound? Is there an area that maybe didn't heal right? And I haven't stopped to think about, how maybe Jesus was using that. But maybe this is a good time to just say, search me, Lord. There's some areas that maybe I'm a little bitter, maybe I'm a little frustrated, at why that door closed or how that closed. And maybe it's good to talk about it, to bring some healing, some insight, and some understanding. And lastly, we want to talk about, we've all got some areas that we're praying for God to open a door. Just like this, we're praying, Lord, open the doors. We're really excited about how we want to see these things open up. But one of the ways that we're learning how to pray, as Jesus said, not my will, but thy will be done, is to ask ourselves, how are these open doors we're praying for lined up with maybe gospel opportunities that Jesus wants to show us? And as we're learning how to pray for these open doors, maybe it'll help us as we're also praying about why God might want to open up that door for us and through us in terms of kingdom ministry and how He could utilize that. So maybe we can think about that this week as we go to our prayer time and say, hey, pray for me, for this open door. And then think about how that might line up with God's will for the open doors in your lives. Guys, I'm super excited for these Connect groups. I'm praying, that you and your leaders are having an amazing time of fellowship. And then don't forget that this week, we'll have another open door in terms of our school district ministries and things that we're doing. So let's use that as another great opportunity to be Jesus' hands and feet. I love you guys. I'm so grateful for you guys. May the Lord bless you and use these things.